Alright, there's going to be quite a bit of information that we're going to cover today. We're going to do lots and lots and lots of factoring. And then finally we're going to learn how to solve some equations by factoring. The first thing that we want to cover and look at are perfect square trinomials. Let's just think, what is a perfect square number? Give me an example of a perfect square number. What did you say? 2 to the power of 2, which is what? 4. So just for numbers, a perfect square is something like this. Example is 2 to the power of 2, which is 4. So we say that 4 is a perfect square because it's a perfect square of 2. Give me one more example. 16. 4 squared is equal to 16. So we say that 16, these guys are perfect squares. Okay? For numbers, so let's think about what a perfect square trinomial is. So a perfect square trinomial would be something, well, let's try to extrapolate this. Instead of a number here, it would be a binomial. So something like, let's try x plus 2 quantity squared. Now this is a binomial squared. Go ahead and do this again, multiply it out and tell me what you get. X squared plus 4x plus 4. So this thing, because it is a square of this binomial, this thing is called a perfect square trinomial. Okay, we want to be able to recognize things like this. So we have a couple of formulas. Now, some of the formulas that I give you today, I will provide for you on a test, but I want you to be able to use them. Okay, so I will tell you what formulas I'll give you, and I'll also tell you there's one that I want you to know. I will not give you that one. But some of the things that we want to look at is if we can write a trinomial in this form, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, or a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. This is a form for a perfect square trinomial. Now, I'll provide that for you, but let's see how we can use it. Let's look at some examples. Suppose we have n squared plus 20n plus 100. Okay? And let's observe our form. Okay? In both of these forms, what's the first thing that we notice? What do we know about this first term? Someone said it. First term is squared. What about the second term? It's also a square. It's something squared, b squared. Second term is also squared. What about the signs of the first and the second terms? Positive or negative? If there's not a negative sign in front of it, then it is positive. And also, the last term is also positive. So the first and the second term are square numbers or square something, and they're both positive. Yes, that's what the form tells us. That's a great question. Will it always be that way? Yes. If it's a perfect square trinomial, it will always be the first term will be a square, the second term will be a square, and they will both be positive. Okay? And then the middle term, well, let's see what does that 2ab actually mean? Well, if we look at this example, is the first term a positive square? Yes, it is. So in this example, if we'll try to match up our symbols here, what do you think my A is? n. So here we can think of this as n is my a. Okay, because a squared has to be this form, a squared. Well, I've got an n squared. What do you think, what is my b? So my b squared is 100. That means b has to be what? 10. This is my b. So a is n, and b is 10. So then what is 2ab then? So I have 2 times a, which is n, and my b I said was 10. I should say that here. My b is 10. And what does this equal? 2 times 10 is 20n. Is that right here? Is this 20n? So this thing in the middle is of the form 2ab. I'm just matching up I'm matching these things up, and then I'm asking myself, is the thing in the middle, is it of the form 2 times whatever this is plus times whatever this is? So this is a perfect square trinomial. And it will factor to, so I'll give you another formula. I should have added that up here. But a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is equal to a plus b quantity squared. A squared minus 2ab plus b squared is equal to a minus b squared. So I've identified in this case my a is n, my b is 10. It is of this form, so what does this factor to? Using this rule, n plus factors to my a, just use my rule. A was n plus my b was 10, and then it's going to be squared. So if you can learn to recognize perfect square trinomials, you can immediately factor them without having to do a lot of work.